We have been without an interpreter since our master got angry with our last protocol droid and disintegrated him.
Disintegrated? Hey guys, welcome back, and say hello to my little friend, EV-9D9. I'm very excited about this droid. I've been working on this for the last probably 6 weeks or so, and it's about to leave today. It goes away, it gets put into boxes, and it goes off to a client. So I'm kind of sad, but I wanted to show it off before it left. This whole thing, let me take this down here, this is getting ridiculous. It is like 100 degrees in here right now, by the way, and I'm sweating profusely, which is great. Anyway, where was I going to start? So the full droid is all 3D printed. The torso, the head, the neck, everything is 3D printed so far. This was basically mostly done in ZBrush. However, I did use Fusion 360 to do a few pieces and to get the initial measurements in. I had to figure out the scale reference, so I looked all over the internet and tried to find any information I could. And I found some photos from one of the exhibits, the Star Wars Identity in Paris, I believe, which it's moving around, so it might be near you, who knows. And they had this droid there, and there was stuff right next to it that I knew the scale of, so I was able to kind of get a pretty good reference for this one. And I used Fusion 360 to design the shoulders and the shoulder little shoulder bells here, and I also figured out the distance across and the height of the torso and the head. And what I did is I modeled the shoulders, and then I just put in a box just as a placeholder scale reference, and then I brought all that into ZBrush. And then from there, I modeled everything else in ZBrush. So the head is fully done in ZBrush. The actual torso is fully done in ZBrush, with the exception of these side vents, which I did in Fusion 360 also. However, I could have done these. Focus. Why are you not focusing? There we go. The side vents were done in Fusion 360. But I have been learning a lot of new handy tools in ZBrush that make this kind of stuff possible. So I'm going to do a few minor tweaks to this head, really subtle stuff, probably not really visible, but sort of internal stuff, because I'm going to print one for myself, and I want it to be a puppet. This does have a mouth that opens and closes. It's taped shut right now because I'm getting ready to send it. And I want it to be puppeteerable, so I'm going to make some modifications so that the mouth can be very easily hooked up to like a rod mechanism or a servo or something, so that I can make my version talk. But once I get mine finished, probably sometime early next year, I will post the files online so you guys can have them if you want. I just want to make sure that it's good. Like the version I put out, I want it to be nice. Look how sweaty I am. Holy cow. So anyway, just a quick look. EV-9D9. It's been in the background for the last few videos. I'm quite excited about it. Here's the neck. Again, done in Fusion 360, 3D printed on the Prusa. I capped off the ends with a little bit of resin. I printed it totally hollow, filled each end with resin, drilled a hole, and then rotocast resin in there so it's really sturdy. And then I backfilled it with a little bit of expanding foam just to help make sure that it was really sturdy so that it could hold up the head. And I think it looks quite nice. It's pretty cool. And then in the background here, I also have my RA-7. This one is also sold. It's going along with EV-9D9. It's going away. This head, if you haven't watched my channel for a long time, I sculpted from clay about 4.5 years ago, molded and have castings of that. The torso up here, which I will grab, the torso is all 3D printed. Arms are 3D printed. I modeled this one in 3D Studio Max, and since this version, I've actually gone back in ZBrush and tweaked a few things that are fixed here on the physical version, but in the 3D printed part, there were some issues that I had to like manually fix that are now fixed in the 3D file. It's got like the little greeble here was done in Fusion 360. The shoulder rings, the ones I talk about in that recent video. And then the back is the original style back from A New Hope. I am doing a Rogue One style back, a Rogue One style torso where the back is like the 3PO back, And the Rogue One version I will put on Thingiverse for free once it's done. It's probably like 65% along. Another thing I'm plucking away at, and as I finish that, that'll go up on Thingiverse. And I will do a Rogue One style head as well. This is a New Hope style. I'll do a Rogue One style, and I'll post that one for free as well once I get around to it. So don't expect these things soon. I'm kind of doing them at night when I have my very, very limited free time. So as they go and they're finished, I will post them and I will let you guys know here. So stop back by as they're coming along. You'll get updates. These are the arms for the RA-7. They're like sort of like 3PO arms, but without all the piping detail. Those are also going away. And oh my gosh, I think I should end this show and tell because I am sweating profusely. But real quick, we'll hop in, look at the ZBrush file for this right now, and then the Fusion 360 file. So let's head over to 3D Space really quick and just take a gander. All right, so here we have our EV-9D9 ZBrush file. Take it solo so you can see how it looks here. Now I started the hips. They are not correct yet. They are about the right size this way, but they're actually not correct at all this way. So that's in the future I'll be fixing that. And also in this view, the head is particularly high, and that is because I was using a photo for the profile reference, which is this photo right here. And it really shows how narrow this droid is from front to back. And it also shows a really good profile of the head, which is very, very useful for me. One thing, though, is that this dark line here on the neck, on all the other pictures, is literally like 3 inches lower, like almost inside the torso. And I'm pretty sure this is one of the early pre-production shots because it doesn't have the grills in the side of the torso here. And the head is super high up, which is totally awkward. You can see here actually this short thing, the little hips or whatever you want to call this, and how it's wrong. This looks like a found item to me. I'm trying to figure out what it is, but no luck. Anyway, this was the photo I was using for reference when I did this, which is why the head is so high up. But all the other photos I have, the head is not this high. It's actually, like I said, down about 3 inches. But we can start to look here. So let me see if I still have the original mesh that I brought in. I don't. This might be it actually. Part of it, but I think I took it apart. So this guy here, let's put that in solo mode. This is kind of what I brought in from Fusion 360. The shoulders are accurate and the spacing is accurate. Everything else is just a sort of a rough representation of where things would lay out from a front view. Again, the shoulders are modeled correctly and the correct distance, and that's it. Everything else is just sort of a placeholder for me to sculpt in ZBrush. I actually think the earlier version was even simpler than this, and I had a kind of like a boxy head that was in here as well that I think I've since deleted. This is version, what is this, number, I don't know, version number 20 or something, or 30. I've done so many iterations of this droid. But we'll hide that. Let's see. Let me come down here and turn off dynamic solo. Where is that? Alright, so let me shut that guy off. We don't want to look at that ugly thing anymore. And the neck that's on here is not the correct neck. This is just like a placeholder neck for ZBrush. I did the proper neck in Fusion 360, and we'll open that in a minute to look. But here's the jaw, so you can see the inside, what it looks like. And then inside the head, I'll grab this. Now, one thing I learned about EV-9D9 is that this droid is not nearly as narrow as you might think. It's actually quite wide in the back. From almost all the angles that you see it in the film, it looks really long, and people say, oh, it's a KitchenAid mixer or something. But when you see it from the bottom, it's really wide. And I'll show you some reference that I got. Let's see here in my reference library. So down here is a picture of it on the floor in the archives, and you can see it is very, very wide on the bottom, which I didn't know. And I've found a few other photos since then that really show this, but you can see the width of the head is Shocking. Never knew that. Everybody always thinks it's really, really narrow, but it's not at all. It just looks that way from the angles that you see it. So again, like you see at these angles, it looks skinny and long, but from the bottom, it's almost like an egg cut in half, which I thought was a very interesting thing. The texture on the head, which I don't know if shows up here. I should just do this on screen, but there's like this texture on the back, which is just done using a noise modifier in ZBrush. And all the punch outs were done. And there's actually a texture on the bottom here as well. I don't know if you can see this or not. I need to make this texture more apparent so that it prints correctly, because it didn't show up very much in my print. You can see it a little bit, but it's not clear. But there's a texture all along this bottom angle of the head, the bottom side of the head. And I've got the little ribbing pattern in here. When I do the next version, I'm going to cut a hole through here where I can basically animate the mouth. But anyway, let's open up Fusion and look at the neck pieces. Alright, here is our droid neck. And you can see it's in multiple pieces, has all the texture. All of the counts should line up. The only thing that I think is wrong after building this and getting ready to start a new one is that I believe that this whole section here needs to rotate about 22.5 degrees so that this guy is centered here. Same amount of pieces, but just turned a tiny little bit. And I think that'll make it a little more accurate. Now, when I did this, I couldn't print the whole thing, so I had to make this top section, I'll show you here, is like a spacer, and I printed that separate. So I printed this, and these details up here were separate, and this ring was separate. So basically I printed all of this as one piece, and then I printed the spacer separately, and I glued them together, and then I basically filled each end with resin and rotocast it inside to make it sturdy, like I mentioned before. And then I added on the flange as a separate part right here, and that kind of hides where it goes into the head. On the real one, I don't know how the connection works. I do know that this piece here kind of goes right up to the bottom, but I don't know if this tube goes up inside or what happens. I just made this up. And then the detail pieces here, let's see, they look like this, and this one here is the one that fits my droid, but I think these are correct. So when I do my next version, I need to make a slight adjustment underneath the jaw, and these should work, and this new one is the one that I have on the current version. But it looks basically the same. It's just a tiny little, maybe an 1/8 of an inch difference on the side. And that's how that's set up. So there's the neck, and then the side panels look like this. Open this up. There you go. So here are the side panels. I basically just made one and then mirrored it. And I could have just made a big rectangular pattern, but I brought in a reference and then used that to cut this so that it would just fit behind the opening and it wouldn't be any extra printing. So again, I just made one and then I mirrored it, printed on the pieces for each side. So pretty fun. Alright, so hopefully that part of it was slightly informative. I know it's not really going into too much detail, but I figured maybe it'd be inspiring to somebody to get in there and start doing some 3D work, because it's not terribly hard to do, and you can make some really cool stuff if you just set your mind to it. But anyway, thanks guys for stopping by, and I will see you kids soon, hopefully sooner rather than later. Bye!
We have been without an interpreter since our master got angry with our... Bleh.